Hey guys, it's Annie. Welcome back to the channel. So for the first time in forever, I'm filming 2 videos in one day. But this week's video, university video, will be about tips for fire alarms at university halls. So obviously you'll know if you apply to uni, well, you might not know, actually I didn't know this, but there will be occasional fire alarm testings. And you will need to leave the building. It's kind of an assessment which you can fail, so yeah, let's just get straight into it and I'll give you some tips for fire alarm testing. Right, so the first point is, also these are really obvious, but just in case. First point is, make sure to have some slippers next to your bed. So fire alarm testing can literally happen at any time. For my flat, it mostly happened around nighttime, so we were usually all in our pajamas or ready to go out. My flatmates did used to go out quite a lot, so I would be in my pajamas. And one time one of the girls was getting ready, and she was just putting makeup on, and she just came outside because there was a fire alarm assessment thing, and she was just beating to the gods. Her makeup, she was beating to the gods, as she said herself. So I don't know what this has to do with the first point, but yeah, make sure to have some slippers, because right next to your bed, literally just so you can get out of bed, put some slippers on, just anything that you can just pop into, not have to shoelace tie or anything. Because yeah, there is it's, especially in the winter, obviously September comes, and then October, December, when September comes, it's often quite cold at night time, and if your halls are being fire alarm is being tested at night time, it's going to be freezing even if you have socks on. So just make sure to have any kind of slippers next to your bed, or shoes, just anything that you can slip into, or else you'll be standing outside in the cold in just your socks or barefoot, and the ground does get cold. So yeah, that's point number one, have some slippers right next to your bed. Number two, again, they might seem really obvious, but have some clothing or a robe next to your bed. So I know it might not happen as much in the winter, but some of us do get quite hot. Some people sleep shirtless, some people sleep fully naked, and there is nothing worse than being scared by a fire alarm at God knows what hour, let's say 11 p.m, and you're ready to go to bed because you have a morning lesson the next day, morning lecture, and you're ready to sleep, and there's a fire alarm and you're naked. So point two is just have any kind of clothing, whether that's an oversized t-shirt if you sleep shirtless, a shirt and some shorts, or a robe, just a fluffy robe, any robe that kind of covers you fully, if you do sleep naked, or if you're getting ready or something, because one, it does get pretty cold, as I said in the first point, but also too, you don't want to lose your dignity by going outside half naked because there's a fire alarm and you got scared. So yeah, that's point number two. Point number three, have your keys next to your bed as well. I know this is a lot oh, I'll just have a pile of these stuff next to my bed. Number three is have your keys next to your bed, or under your pillow, or anywhere close by, just hanging next to the door. I had this board, as I said in the last university video, I had this board next to my door, and I would have a pin in the board, and I just hang my keys on there. But you often get freaked out, or just just not freaked out, but you get slightly scared, oh, is it actually on fire? And you might forget your keys, and none of your housemates will have keys, and you have to get the warden to help you open the door, just the front door, which isn't that much of an issue, but I personally found it that at least one of us had their keys on us with the fire alarm. I think there was just one time where none of us had our keys, and the warden had to open the front door for us. But it's always good to have your keys right next to your bed or like near your bed, because it might be an emergency, you may need to leave, and you don't want to go searching the whole room for your keys, which did happen to me more than once. So yeah. Number 4, and this is so dumb, and I apologize if you ever live with a person like this. I don't know, you might be going to different universities, so as I said, these might all be just different roles. There was one time where context. There was 2 flats in this flat. So you had the flat below, which was the flat I didn't live in, and then you had the flat above, which is the one that I lived in. And each flat had two stories, like, you know, the bottom and the top in one, and then the bottom and the top in the other one. We were technically 2 different flats because our flats had different numbers, but there was the fact that we were in the same building, so we were assessed as one flat. So if one of the flats failed the test, the other one failed as well. And we have failed one of the assessments, not because of us. One of the boys, I'm gonna call him a boy because that was very immature what he did. During the assessments, we had to go outside, lined up at the bottom of the stairs or like next to the flat, while they tested to see how we would react if there was an actual fire. These were unplanned, by the way. During these assessments, you can fail. And as I said, one of the boys from the flat below us, so the bottom flat, jumped out the kitchen window. So the kitchen was on the bottom floor, and he jumped out through the bottom window. The warden and the people assessing us all saw it, and he jumped out before my flat had the chance to get downstairs. So we come downstairs and we just stand there, and then we're told, okay, you guys failed because one person jumped out the window. So number 4 is, don't jump out the window, don't jump out anything. If you hear a fire alarm, just calmly get to the door and just walk out the door, just go outside, just don't jump out the window, because that's just dumb. And you will fail, and you will have to repeat the assessment a few days later, which just ruins everyone's mood, honestly. The testing, it was... just prepare yourself for some idiot to jump out the window, basically is what I'm saying. Number 5, second to last point. Okay. This is another... you'll fail if you don't do this. So as I said, these fire assessments happen unexpectedly every couple of weeks. I think it's every 3 to 4 weeks. You don't know when one is coming unless you have a friend who's assessing, and then you might be able to get a little sneak peek and just be like, okay guys, we're having an assessment, a fire assessment between this time on this day. But the thing is, do go out, like, you know, I mean, if you're hermiting and no one ever sees you, like either in your room or you're in your room the whole time and your flatmates don't know if you're ever in your room or not, you might be able to pass, like they probably won't check. But do get out of your bed if you hear the fire alarm and you assume it's an assessment. Even if it's not, do still go outside, because it could be an actual fire. And especially if it's a fire below, if you're on the top part and it's the below flat on fire, you don't have much time to really get out of the flat. So no matter what, okay, there's one thing, but that's in number 6. But number 5 is, do get out of bed, do go outside if you hear the fire alarm, and do proceed with the precautions of just in case it is a fire alarm. Number 6. With that said, your uni halls may have weekly fire alarm testing, in which they just test if the alarm works. You'll find out after a few weeks when that day is. In my first year, it was a Saturday. When that happens weekly, you don't need to line up or go outside. So, as I basically just read out, we had a fire alarm assessments every few weeks in which you had to leave the room, leave the flat, go outside and see if you passed or failed the assessment. But you will also have, well, you might also have 1 day a week, every single week, in which they just test to see if the fire alarm goes off, like if the fire alarm works. For me, as I said, it was a Saturday. It was a Saturday around 9 and 10 a.m. So I would know after a couple of weeks, I would know, oh, this is just testing, you know, they're just trying to see if the fire alarm goes. If that happens, they do usually just run it for like a minute, less than a minute even, and then they turn it off. You'll often know if it's testing or not if you pop your head out the door. Like, no matter like what happens, just pop your head out the door, see if your flatmates have the same reaction. If yeah, then like one of you guys will probably go and check to see if it's just the testing, the fire alarm testing, to see if it works. If not, then you'll all just go outside and just go back in straight after, if they, because they will tell you if there is a person, there's usually a warden downstairs who's doing the fire alarm testing, so they will probably just tell you that it's just testing, you can go back in, you can go back to sleep. So yeah, that's all. Right, so that's all of the points covered. As I said, this was the fire alarm edition, so I'll just quickly do a sum up of weekly fire alarm testings just to see if they work. Every few weeks, assessments, try not to fail, don't jump out the windows. Do prepare some kind of clothing, robes, footwear and keys next to your bed, just in case, you know, the assessment week does come before you expect it. And yeah, that's about all you need to know. As far as I'm aware, that's all I have on my list for now, for the fire alarm testing. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Comment down below if I forgot anything or any other tips for freshers that you might have. As I said, I am gonna be doing more videos on like overall university tips. I think next week I'll do a carrying on the list I did last week. So yeah, like this video if you enjoyed it, comment down below any tips, any ideas that you might have, anything that I missed. Subscribe down below and click the bell notifications if you are going to be a fresher this September, because I might have a few tips that you don't know about, considering I just finished my second year. And yeah, other than that, do with passion, not that at all.